But as you know, we had a meeting last night, and after the meeting, people talked about, like the possibilities of what we could do. Keep the October 7th date, kind of like stand our ground sort of thing. Or do as you're suggesting, which at this point, we're willing to do. But of course, that means that it can't be on the referendum. But we would like to continue to move ahead, like not project this out until March or April. I don't know what the right time would be. Maybe we can all put our heads together and decide that a special meeting would be best held December, January, whenever. So maybe rather than set that date tonight, maybe we can get together, even if it's informally, and talk about what would be a smart date so that everybody, we can have plenty of public hearings. We're not opposed to having as many public meetings that as are needed. Like we never expected that we would just have one, and certainly to some degree, the more the better. Of course, there's a limit to that too. So if we can get together, comprehensive plan, at least some of us, and the select board, and choose a date, if we're willing to do that. And at the same time, we can then set up the dates for public hearings. And if we could get the select board to agree to have Michelle post those in the paper, I would take care of that. But we also talked about a few other odds and ends that if we think if we're going to put this off, it would be helpful. And we don't have a budget per se, but if we could, if the select board would give us costs not to exceed $500 so that we can finish up printing, print leaflets, perhaps even have a mass mailing so that we can go out to everybody in the town and notify them through the mass mailing as well as the newspaper advertisements. That would be helpful. Another thing that we thought would be very helpful, not just for us in these meetings, and perhaps also for this, general assistance meeting, which is going to be coming up, is get a better sound system to use over in the community center, so that people can be heard more easily. Also set it up so that we have a moderator where anybody who had a question could go up to the podium and ask it. The moderator could keep control of it, and it could be a moderator that, again, when we need to talk about a date, like for a special election, choose a moderator, that everybody thinks would work well as far as keeping things under control. So I don't know if there's anything else that we.
No, I think it would be good though if we came up with a budget, figure what, these various things are going to cost. I know Rita mentioned the cost of copying plans might be more than we expected, but I think figuring that out and coming back to it in amount would be good. But I also just want to say, and actively, we're trying to be as transparent as we can. The plan's been on the website for 6 months now. We're handing materials out at town meeting. We've tried to communicate as much as we can, did all kinds of surveys. So we welcome input, but there's just so much you can do. People have to speak up and provide that input that would be valuable to us. Or even something like, sharing that communication will be helpful so that the comprehensive plan committee knows what's going on rather than,
Yeah, that we just got. What day was that? Thursday. Yeah, last Thursday.
I think.
And I was gone all weekend. So.
Yeah, so I think that give and take would be helpful for all of us.
Great.
Also, if there's any questions or concerns, to maybe address them to the comprehensive committee instead of the backbiting and fairly raw negative comments that really don't need to be said. Questions are good.
Also, there should not be those comments made at your comprehensive meeting too. Yeah, Matt.
What?
I attended the meeting last night,
And there's a lot of good stuff in that comprehensive plan. And I want people to know that I've been on other comprehensive plan boards, committees, I should say committees. I've been in their shoes. It's not easy. And I'm asking the community to get involved, to come up with a plan that works for everybody. You know, you put surveys out, you ask questions. I think it was what, 2 years plus, Dick, we worked on that?
Yeah.
And then they got voted down. It really, it hurts when that happens. These people have put a lot of work into this. And I don't think they've been given the resources that they necessarily need because no one really took it of what it's worth. Whether we get busy taking care of our families, raising money, and we trust boards and committees and selectmen to do what we think is best for the town, and we show up with torches and pitchforks because we're all mad, but it's because we, you know, I've had enough, now I'm gonna say something. We need to work together to come up with things that work for the town, and I don't think they've had all the input that they've needed as a committee. I don't think they've had the town resources that they need for something as important as this. I would like to help if they wish, you know, I think I could get some other people to put some input, and I want to see the town succeed, and we need to put our differences aside so that can happen. And anything that I can do to help, or, you know, people want to donate that to help with this, I think it would be good for the town.
Can you expand on what resources you're referring to that they lack? Is it funding, or is it people, or is it everything?
Well, with a lot of these committees that I've seen, you know, no one likes a committee. Okay, I take care of a development, but it's got 12 houses to get 10 committees. It's a homeowners association and private and level fund. Okay, I don't want to turn this town into that. All right, we have to be careful with the committee. So we form a committee to do something, right? But then no one even wants to talk to the committee. And so then they produce something and then, I don't like it. Well, where were you when this was being developed? Where was I? Okay? There are people too, okay? It's too bad that happened. It's too bad that I'm involved at this point, but here we are. Let's go forward. Let's work together. Okay? The resources is there. The Zoom last night, right? Nobody shut that off. They had what, 40 minutes free? Okay, these meetings don't last 40 minutes, they go longer than that. There's people that want to know, even if it's 2 people, they shouldn't be putting that out of their own pocket.
Right.
You know, there are people that don't have access to internet to download this. Oh, but this is an important thing. Then there should be printed copies, or, you know, maybe someone says, listen, now I'll pay $500 and someone can come here and it's going to cost $10 a copy. Someone can get that if they choose, okay? Because I think that's the right thing to do. So I don't think some of these committees are given the resources that, like what we have here with the Zoom meeting, the video, the speakers and stuff, you know, that may be important with these other committees. It's something that we need to look at. Not just this committee, but all the committees within the town.
We do have a new Zoom account for the town. So that is available to you guys.
And will that be available if we have just regular comprehensive plan meetings?
Yes.
Feel like we usually do at 6:30 at the public library on Monday night.
Yep. Yeah.
Will they be available for now? If they're available for meetings, does someone have to be there that's
You know how to do it.
able to do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't have to do it.
But certainly we could send somebody here, whoever, you know, like is a guru for that.
Yeah.
They could teach them how to do it, you know, so that they don't have to spend their time at our meetings.
Yeah.
You know, like after
Yeah.
they put in a full day's worth of work, so.
Yeah.
Does it have to be on the town laptop? Town computer?
It's just a login. It's just a login, okay. Yeah. That's,
Yeah, I don't know if there's really a lot of dissension about people on the committees, at the committees, but a lot of times it's about content and concept of what's being presented, you
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
and, it's quite a package. And it's quite a package to look at for anybody. I mean, I've read a little bit of it, and I can't say I'm pro or con because I haven't read it all. But there doesn't seem to be any urgency really to have an overall comprehensive plan right now. We seem to be going, we have a comprehensive plan.
yes.
So maybe, to introduce parts of it that might be addendums to it, to improve it, rather than just try to open the doors wide and let everything out and let everything in, because I think part of the thing is to eliminate the comprehensive plan we now have if we vote for the new comprehensive plan. Is that right?
There's two things. First one is that the comprehensive plan, the last comprehensive plan that was adopted by the town was 1991, so it's 30 years old. I think everybody would agree that there's a good chance it's outdated.
Some things have changed since then.
Yeah.
Two things.
Couple. The second thing is in 2008, the state created the comprehensive plan, growth management plan. And they had specific guidelines that we had to follow. Like it was, we didn't come up with these on our own. There was X number of chapters, I think it was 13 chapters we had to create. And in each one of those chapters, they had significant points that we had to address, traffic problems, housing problems, so forth and so on. So as far as, I don't see how you can modify for those two reasons, the 1991 plan.
But I would add to that, Vinnie, we did look at the 91 plan, and there was so much that would have to be updated. Because a lot of the data is just out of date, so it would really be rewriting. So rather than try to, do a patchwork, we figured we have to go back and rewrite it according to what the state required, and then, add goals and strategies.
I really didn't come here tonight to start talking about whether something's legitimate or not, whether we need it or not, whether something's outdated. I wanted to come here tonight to say, hey, let's not have the hearing where the majority of the representation from the state is going to be there on that date and not other dates to explain this to the people. And it's my understanding right now that the comprehensive board is willing to talk more about this. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't think this is the time that we're having a compromise right now to start discussing whether something is legitimate or not. That could be a further discussion.
Yeah.
I think we need to look
At
the
one of
point-
our meetings,
look at the point, okay, maybe October 7th at 7 PM is not the best time in the best interest of the town. And discuss that, and then these other points we can discuss.
Yep.
Once we settle that.
I said we're gonna keep this 10 minutes, we've gone 20.
But I just got one more question. Has the town or the selectmen been notified by the state that the state's having a problem with our current comprehensive plan?
No,
Here's what the state says. The state, when we asked Tom Marigliolo, who's the senior planner for the state, he said, as of right now, the state of Maine does not have a plan on file for the town of Brownfield because it's more than 10 to 12 years old.
I really don't want to get into this debate right now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be professional with everybody, but I have reached out to the state representative, Hiram and Lee Fieldman from the SMPTD
Southern Maine Regional Planning.
that have different information on this. So really what I want to focus on is this date and the possibility of pushing this to a special town meeting.
Yep.
I don't want to get focused and drag this on. I don't feel this is the point. to do
Yeah,
that.
Bruce, real quick.
Yeah, I just wanted to know the definition of an update. because the state recommends it be updated every 8 to 10 years versus rewriting the whole thing, that's all. I just wanted to know the definition of an update.
And that's more of a, when we get into the meeting part of it, we'll discuss that. I don't think that's the thing for tonight. I think we've made a great compromise here tonight.
And when would you like to get together, discuss dates?
And budget.
Yeah, next week sometime, yeah. You wanna do just a
Let Alvina know.
a workshop, yeah, you wanna do a workshop?
And get in touch with us, get in touch with one of us, and we'll let everybody else.
Yeah. Perfect.
All right.
Yep, thank you.
Welcome.
All right, now on to the agenda. Mr. Lenavera.
Can I accept the motion first, or your minutes? If we do the.
Yeah, we can do our minutes, yeah.
Thank you.
And everybody happy with the minutes? Yes. Yeah, all in favor? All right. Payables are all done. Payables done. I'm going to discuss the town office being open for every privilege. Do we do much business that week? Is the big question.
Honestly, yes, because Wanda has sent out 30-day notices. So I have people coming in here paying taxes.
Okay.
But you're here alone?
90% of the time, yes.
I will be working that week because that's the weekend between my most sons.
Okay, so that's a little better.
But you realize that that's tax will be setting.
Yeah.
That's.
It can be in the vault. I mean, that's, okay, so that's, okay. And you're probably not working that week. We don't know. You haven't been told. Okay.
Probably not.
All right.
I don't think we'll have enough for her to do, so.
Okay, there wouldn't be any input or anything that you could do to get things caught up.
She don't work for me. I
We
don't
can
know.
ask that question.
You have to ask me.
Yes, I would think there'd be, there'd be enough to do it if you want to.
Like I said, I'm not making that decision. That's not my call.
Okay, so I guess we will be open during private period. All right, now we're on to Vinnie.
All right. Well, I want to discuss the town newsletter again.
Yeah,
I asked at the town meeting if it was an official town newsletter by the town, and I think you might have said no. And then no funding on it. So now, if there's no responsibility given to the newsletter, and that the articles in it don't have any authorization who did it. There's no list of the editor, secretary treasurer. If you look at, so if this isn't a town newsletter, right? It's not a.
not sanctioned by the town. We are paying the printing cost and copy cost, so.
So you're contributing to the newsletter.
Yes.
And but it's what budget's set out of,
Administration expense.
okay. So. The thing is, it says town newsletter, town of Brownfield. In the June edition, it says paragraph. Last year, only 267 votes were cast on election day, only 98 votes were cast during open town meeting. That means that the direction of our town could be decided by 50 people. Then it says, are you okay with that? We are not. So when they say we are not, when people look to say who's saying we are not, the only place they can look where it says town of Brownfield. Because there's no list of the editor. Any newsletter that's private,
Mhm.
whether it's private matters, they make the disclaimer that they're private. Any newsletter that Spice and Grain puts up, the Dragonfly, the Brownfield Historical.
That was
Society.
discussed with them, and they said they were gonna put the names of the editors.
We had, if you look, turn to the back of the newsletter, the contributors are listed at the back of the newsletter.
Yeah, but that doesn't catch any responsibility.
Shouldn't they be under each article, just like a regular newspaper?
Yeah, I mean, any other,
So then you contact each name or one of the names.
what's that?
You contact one of the names on there.
Well, the names change sometimes.
So
Yeah, so, I mean,
contact one of those names.
well, we must have one person who does the formatting.
We do. Yeah, somebody does.
Well, was that the editor?
Point of order. I think this should go through the selectmen. They're going to Rex.
Yeah, let's.
So when the next newsletter that comes out, and the town's gonna fund it. Apparently,
Mhm.
okay? It should have a disclaimer that this is not a town newsletter. This is a private newsletter. And then should have a list of who the editor is, the secretary, treasurer, who fills, it's what every newspaper does. And I don't know, you know, it's only what's expected.
Yeah, I was under the assumption that that under each article it had the person's name, how it was gonna be.
Well,
And that,
we don't have a hierarchy like that. We don't have authors for every article. We all work as a team. So some people take pictures, some people contribute information, some people do editing, some people do formatting, some do copying, some do distribution. We work as a close team, and none of us turn around and say, why did you say that? Why did you do that? We did add information that said, this is not an official town newsletter with the more recent versions of the newsletter. And we do have the names at the bottom, the contributors at the bottom. Sometimes a lot of the information has been given to us by town employees who have been very helpful with helping us put the newsletter together. I don't know why you're talking about it as though it's some nefarious thing going on. It's a newsletter. We're trying to promote the good things in town, and why should we have to look at everything from a negative perspective?
I'm not looking at it as a negative.
Well, you are.
I'm not taking a negative attitude to the newspaper. What I'm saying is, the responsibility has to be on the people who put the articles in here.
But we are reviewing there at the bottom.
wait until he's done.
If the town's funding it, okay, they're gonna bear some of the responsibility and the liability. Because they have to check what's going on in here, because they're funding it. Now, I put articles in here, I got no complaints about that. All I'm saying is, there should be responsibility which follows with. If people want to write in letters to the newspaper, or, you know, anything like that. And it's just what every newsletter does. It's not like, it's something new.
Can I speak to? Can I speak?
Getting it done?
Yeah, go ahead,
Okay.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay. We do have people listed. We do have an email address you can send comments to. We do have a disclaimer saying that the town is not responsible. And it's a very inexpensive newsletter. It may be cheaper for us to just do it ourselves if people stop complaining about the $5 it costs to copy the newsletter. I don't understand. You're complaining about, you just read an article about 50 people deciding the town future. 50 people voting at town meeting are making decisions about what's going to happen in this town. Are you okay with that, Vinnie?
That was 2 years ago. Now, that was
Okay.
last week,
All right.
there were more people. At the town meeting who made the decision.
You know why? Because we
All right,
wrote a
Vin-
newsletter
all right.
asking people. to
Let's
come.
stop the argument.
Yeah,
We're not here to argue.
yeah.
If this is a selectman meeting, it is our meeting, not yours, okay? So
Yeah, so
exactly, it's not here to argue, I don't care, you know,
you're looking at me, Dick.
but I'm looking straight out, I don't, all right, just straight out.
So Vinnie
It-
too.
I-
And
you know,
he knows. We have to all get along. We all have to try to do things. I think the newspaper is a good little paper. There's always gonna be a quirk and something that maybe isn't quite 100% the way you want it, the way I want, the way you know. And we have to kind of overlook some of this little stuff because there's much bigger fish out there to fry. That I just think this is it's only getting going. It hasn't been a full year yet. Let's let it work and see how it goes and go from there.
Well, my main issue is that it shouldn't say town of Brownfield, Maine newsletter. Because that immediately identifies it as the town of Maine, town of Brownfield newsletter. And it's not the town of Brownfield's newsletter.
But it has a disclaimer saying it is not. It's only a
Well,
name.
then why you put it on there? Just say, this newsletter is calling it another name.
Well, Freiburg matters. That's town of Freiburg. I mean,
No,
so
no,
it
it's
doesn't
not
make a
Freiburg.
difference. It's a very petty part of it, I think. And
It's not a petty pat because it's a liability issue.
there's no liability to town of Brownfield with the disclaimer. And that's why we do not approve the paper, because that's where the liability would be. We are paying for the printing. We're not paying for the,
Find that you back it up. His
We're-
point is valid.
we're
I don't
trying to
think
make
he's complaining
a
about- I don't think he's
complaining about the newsletter. I think he's just concerned about liability and what it will cost us when some person gets upset by something an independent group decides to put in there that isn't approved by the board. I don't think that's an invalid comment at all, and I 100% back you on that. I don't think anyone's
Okay,
trying to.
you're done, you're done.
against it.
So,
We pay for our own paper. We have our own selves distributing it to what, maybe 4 or 5 places in town.
Mhm.
We fold it, we collate it on our own. And so really. what,
I think it
$5?
is a good asset for the town. Maybe there's some fine tweaking that, Vinny, if you have questions, go directly to them and ask them if they could tweak this or tweak that. And I think they'd be pretty much, they'd oblige, I believe, if you just.
My problem is with newsletter. My problem is it says Town of Brownfield newsletter. And it should, okay, it's not the Town of Brownfield's newsletter. It's a separate newsletter from the Town of Brownfield. It's private individual. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't have a problem with that. And it should identify, everything that's in the newspaper.
If you just drop the town, you just say
Just say,
Brownfield,
just not have Town of Brownfield newsletter on it, but
Brownfield.
comprehensive plan newsletter on it if they want.
Matt,
Well, most of the people are.
Didn't Snowmobile deal with something like this, where someone was posting stuff that was separate from the official Snowmobile club on line there?
Mhm.
And if it's a private thing, whether we help fund the printing, they can do that. Right, I mean, they have the right to say or treat this the way they want. If someone doesn't just agree with it, don't read it. I think it's great that they're putting a newsletter out. Maybe work with them and say, hey, maybe add editors and stuff. I mean, call it the Brownfield News, the town, but.
would you entertain the thought of changing it to Brownfield News?
Brownfield newsletter,
Okay,
sounds good.
perfect.
Just as an example.
Vinny,
Still-
Vinny,
Yeah,
we're dragging a dead horse. We don't need to do that.
Well, let me.
You've done it. You've done it.
Well, let me show you the other dead horse.
Let's go on to number 2.
Well, the Brownfield Historical Society, it says Brownfield, and it says Historical Society and Museum newsletter. It doesn't say Town of Brownfield, it says
Right.
Historical Society.
And that's what they're doing. They're changing.
The reporter.
They're changing it.
Newsletter, yeah,
Vinny,
okay,
enough. They're changing it.
Good, thank you. Well, not only
No.
thank you, but thank you for addressing the issue.
Yeah. Number 2.
Number 2 is, well, this might have changed because it was concerning the short-term ordinance coming up again. on
Okay.
Referendum.
Yeah,
Is that gonna happen?
it's going to be a special town meeting.
Okay, that's good.
So that's all set.
Yeah, sounds good, yeah,
Perfect. Thank you.
thank you.
All right. Who's on first? Huh? Oh. All right, a reminder of the public hearing on general assistance on the 27th at 5:30. It's gonna be open. I don't think there's gonna be much talk about it, but we have to do it, so it'll be right here and it'll be done. And the planning board wants to do a road and street standards
You have a folder.
on the 27th. Yep, it's okay.
I'll read the. Dear Selectmen, Planning Board is requesting that you review the following street standards for design and construction. Included is the original November 26, 2019 copy of the road standards with DOT comments added and in a draft final copy dated August 2nd, 2022 with a detached detailed section. Members have requested the Selectmen system place an agenda on Tuesday, September 27th. If you will not be meeting for any reason on that date, would you please place the board on the next available agenda? Planning board secretary.
Yeah, yep, well, that'll be for next week. You wanna hold off on the other one?
It's up to you, we got time, or-
No, let's move it to the end. How's that? Computer maintenance contract.
According to Wanda, we do not have a computer maintenance contract with anyone.
No,
So they put us in when they can do it. When we break down, they come fix us when they can.
When they can.
So we need to do something with that. And like I said last week, we need to do something with that, with the heating systems, with the electrical, because when something breaks in the town, you can't wait 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month to have something fixed. We need to contract with somebody that can be able to do this stuff
is Patrick getting back to you at all?
on a price.
He was supposed to do the block maintenance price, contract price,
He,
and the computer price.
he has not given me any
It's been a couple of
feedback
weeks.
at all.
It's been a couple of weeks.
You can reach out.
It's been a couple of weeks.
It was last week.
No, it's only been a week.
Yeah.
Really?
I know, it seems like forever, doesn't it?
Can you reach out to him tomorrow and see if he can get that done?
Should we put the, out to bid for the contracts system?
We should put something in the paper and see if somebody answers us. Whether it be the plumbing for the, for the town, for the. The heating system, if some heating system, let's go, we need somebody to fix it before everything freezes up. I just think it's a good idea that we get into this stuff that. Get going on it. All right, we have a preliminary state evaluation for town of Brownfield. I have not had time to read it yet, so I can't tell you a thing about it. I don't know if anybody else has.
He has already, Bob has filed it
Okay,
with the state.
Okay.
I have a copy.
yeah, and this looks like the evaluation.
Yep,
The 251.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're at 90.92,
Mhm.
so we're within the state.
Yeah.
So we're good.
So we're good. We're 90.9. We're not over, we're not under, we're good. I hate to be over. Hate to overtake people. Especially me.
Is this the year that we're gonna have the rebound?
Next, we're gonna do it probably, if the taxpayers want to, next year will be probably the full rebound. This year, we're just catching up on the properties that have been done, and I think we have 20 building permits this year, which is quite a bit for town of Brownfield. Now, that doesn't mean it's 20 houses. That could be a shed, a garage, an addition.
But we have to have the. Do we have to have the revale once every 5 years? Is that how it works here?
Supposed to be every 10.
Every 10.
Yeah, and we're on year 30. Yeah. Yeah, no? No, okay. I thought you began.
Real quick, you guys have a date for the STR vote?
We have a what?
Date for the STR, the short-term rental vote?
That would be Joe's answer.
We don't, we're still working on it, and, probably it'll definitely be next year,
Okay.
when we would, have that, but planning board is still working on it, trying to iron out things, and get some more input from the public. Take it from there.
Okay, now, before we go on to executive session stuff, just to let everybody know, this past month, our printer cost was $600 over our $300 monthly fee. So the use of that printer is extremely expensive. I don't know why we don't own this, honestly. Maybe it's not because of maintenance, it's not worth owning it, I don't know, but it is, that is a lot of money. for the town to put out. So just, people kind of think about when they're gonna print something and kind of, if you need 25, only print 25, if you need 50, print 50, but you just, that's all I'm asking.
Can I ask a question? How do they calculate the overage, when we supply our own paper?
It's by the sheet, it's just,
the use of
it
the
just counts the
machine.
numbers, it doesn't know who put the paper in, it only knows that the piece of paper went through this machine.
Yeah.
They don't supply the paper either,
It's the use
it's,
of the
it's only the machine and the, I don't know, we pay the cartridge separate, isn't it, don't we?
Okay, the what?
The cartridge for that?
I think they provide the
They provide-
toner. I'm not sure if we pay for that. I haven't seen
I
a
hope
bill
so.
on it yet.
At that price.
So, I know that I was using printer a lot, to print copies of the plan. And early on, we tried to price everything out to see which was most reasonable.
Yeah.
And this was way back when Megan was here, and at that point, we were told it was 3 cents a copy for a color page. So we calculated that and the binding and how much it would cost if we sent it out to print.
Yeah,
So it was more reasonable to print it in-house, but that may have changed, it must have changed. because-
yeah, I don't know, I don't believe that figure was correct.
Yeah, so that's something that was worth.
We priced. Well, we're gonna print 25 copies of the old comprehensive plan. And it's cheaper to have carbon printing print them than it is to do it in that machine.
Okay, so we should work that into the budget for whatever's needed, okay?
Yep, all right,
And
yes,
if we do more than 25, the more you do,
the
the
cheaper
more
it
the
gets,
price.
right,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
yeah,
So if we're gonna do, say, if we're thinking, well, down the road, we're gonna need 100,
right.
we should do,
Right,
we should quote that 100.
Yeah.
So that we know what we're running
okay,
for an expense.
we'll do.
Vinnie?
Yeah, as far as the budget committee, is that something that's gonna be presented separately as part of the expenses of the administration, that the printing is escalated for whatever reasons?
It'll probably be put in the budget, but it'll be in the total administration budget, it won't be line item,
The item,
and we can mention it,
Yeah.
So
if
people
you have a
know.
record- Well, it's obviously keeping a record of it, if you can bring it to the budget committee meeting,
Yep,
it'd be helpful.
Yep. okay. Anything else? Perfect. All right, we're just gonna have a little discussion ourselves, if anybody wants to say they can, and if they don't, that's fine.
Did everybody sign in?
Thank you. That's what you have. Yep, yep, yep. Yep. Yep.
Yep. I think so. This is all.
Executive session. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
John, you want to go over that? John, get information on the executive session. No, I don't think so. That's the people, they want to stay, but the right people can have it at the end. Good. The floor is yours.
Oh,
Yeah. All right. We're gonna finish our.
Executive sessions and personal matters. In the case of a personal matter where the discussion will involve possible discipline of a town employee, the motion should not mention the employee by name or provide details regarding the conduct which might justify disciplinary action. However, it should do more than call for an executive session to discuss personal matter. MMA Legal Services staff suggests that it is sufficient for the motion to say that the session is for the purpose of discussing possible disciplinary action against a town employee. However, the specific factual discussion prior to doing going into executive session should be avoided, as it would defeat the whole purpose of going into executive session. If the board must detail the factual predicate publicly before going into executive session, by the time they get into the executive session for a non-public discussion, the horse is already out of the barn, so to speak. When the executive session is concluded and the board returns to the public meeting to make its decision, the question then is how much detail the board must provide in its motion to take disciplinary action against or dismiss an employee. Section 407(2) of the FOAA states that when the board makes a decision involving the dismissal of an employee or the failure to renew a contract, it must set forth in writing the reason or reasons for its decision and make findings of fact sufficient to appraise the individual concerned and any interested member of the public of the basis for the decision. The law relating to personal records, 30A MRSA 27(2)(1)(b)(5) states that when disciplinary action is taken, the final written decision is no longer confidential after the decision is completed. The decision must state board's legal rights in a particular application review. The board cannot legally engage in its own discussion of the merits of the application and what action it will take. It doesn't look like it's in line with.
What page are you on? Yeah.
Yeah, it should have been 109. We've gone to 109.
How did the back get? So we should be over on personal matters, right?
Yeah.
So personal matters concerning employees or officials, but only when public discussion could damage a person's reputation or when a person's right to privacy would be violated. The individual being charged or investigated has a right to be present whenever the board is going to discuss the matter. The individual also may request in writing that the hearing be open to the public, in which case the meeting will be open. The board may not override such a request. Any person bringing charges also has the right to be present. A discussion of a budget or a budget proposal is not included in this category. Discussion or consideration of student suspension or expulsion by a school board. Real estate and economic development negotiations, but only when premature disclosure would hurt the municipality's competitive or bargaining position. Discussion of labor contracts and proposals between the municipality and the labor negotiators, but negotiations may be held open to the public provided both parties agree. Meetings between the municipality and its attorney to discuss the legal rights of the body pending or contemplating litigation or settlement offers when premature general public knowledge would clearly place the municipality at a substantial disadvantage. The attorney and municipal office make the initial determination of substantial disadvantage. If the executive session will involve a discussion of a pending or possible lawsuit by the board and its attorney, the motion should at least indicate the general subject matter of the case and its title, such as Smith versus Town of X, a case involving alleged breach of an employment contract. Note, the attorney must be physically present at the meeting or participating through a telephone conference call. A discussion of correspondence from the attorney or a report made by the town manager or a board member about what the attorney said is not justification for an executive session if the attorney is not also present. Even with the attorney present, the board's discussion must stay within the scope of the reason cited for the executive session. For example, if the executive session was called in order for the attorney to discuss this is where we get lost.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
the whole
dude,
thing
I'm-
is-
we're lost. We're lost.
Yeah, I didn't even, it took me a few minutes just to find out where you
Yeah,
started.
we were here.
And then I went to 109 and I don't know where you went
Yeah.
after 109.
And these are all page numbered.
Yeah.
by them.
But they're
No
different.
idea,
I don't have numbers on this one.
no idea.
You got numbers on yours?
We do.
Yeah,
Okay, so
this was informational. Our executive sessions are out of order, and the reason for this was to bring it to our attention and what you can and can't say in an executive session.
It's held to
So we went from-
whatever it is.
Because you
That
went
one
from
point.
personal matters between municipality attorneys. Okay, so for the attorney to discuss
I think.
the board's legal rights in a particular application review, the board cannot legally engage in its own discussion of the merits of the application and what action it will take. Discussion of information contained in records made confidentially by statute. Property abatements, disability variance applications, discussion or approval of the conduct of examinations administered by a body for licenses, permanent or employment purposes, consultation with the entity that provides examination services regarding the content and review of the exam with a person examined. Consultations between the municipal officers and the CEO who is representing the municipality in district court on a land use prosecution under Rule 80K when the consultation relates to a pending enforcement matter. The FOAA has some important procedural rules to follow before going into executive session. First, executive session can only be entered after a motion has been made in public session to go into executive session. The nature of the business to be discussed must be a part of that motion, although the wording of the motion should not reveal the sensitive information that the law intends to protect by the executive session process. The motion must include a citation of one or more sources of statutory or other authority to justify the executive session. IMRSA 4054, see executive session motions now required to cite law, legal notes, Maine Townsman's December 2004. Executive sessions again, legal notes, Maine Townsman, January 2005, and effective sessions motion citations. A quick guide, the motion must carry by at least 3 to 5 of the members present. A written record must be made of the motion and vote. Second, no other matters except the specific subject cited in the motion to enter executive session may be discussed. Third, an executive session is for the purpose of discussion only. No decisions can be reached by the board, no motion can be made, and no final action can be decided or taken in executive session. See board vote by secret ballot violates FOAA. Legal notes, Maine Townsman, February 2007. Finally, the purpose of the FOAA cannot be defeated through the misuse of executive session. Action taken or resulting from an executive session in violation of FOAA is illegal. Upon complaint would be found by a court to be void and unenforceable, the court may award reasonable attorney fees and costs to a substantially prevailing plaintiff where the court determines that the illegal action was committed in bad faith. Willful violations of the FOAA may result in a fine of $500. Minutes taken and any form of written or electronic record or note from an executive session are confidential and are not subject to public inspection, so long as the executive session is lawful. See Bluffton, Maine Newspaper Incorporated versus Portland School Committee, 871 A2D 523, 2005. Nonetheless, MMA Legal Services staff cautions against taking notes or minutes in executive session to guard against intentional or unintentional disclosure of non-public records. Also, since the purpose of the executive session is to provide confidentiality for certain persons or subjects, individual counselors or select persons who discuss the subject matter of an executive session with others may be opening themselves and the municipality to liability and may become the subject of discipline by the board. See Monroe versus Town of Gray, 1999, Maine 19743A 2D 1257. executive sessions and personal matters. In the case of a personal matter, the discussion will involve possible discipline of a town employee. The motion should not mention the, I've already read that, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So that was 108, and that's where it got lost.
Yeah,
Okay, so. So the gist is.
So that
we
more
have
or
to
less,
stick to our
that more or less
agenda.
sums up where I think we've kind of lost sight of what we've been doing in executive sessions. Bring them in, I think we have to be more strict with them. So I just wanted to bring this to our attention. To kind of help discipline
This is the
ourselves.
other one. If you're on. I think so, I'm not sure.
Thank you for the time on this.
Yeah, okay, now, Mike,
Sir,
66,
can't believe I made it through all the other stuff today here.
66. Big Street,
So it was 5/10/22. We had addressed the issue of that old trailer that was sitting there. We gave her 90 days to remove the property as a dangerous building due to the fact that the floor is caving in, all that stuff. I guess the concern was that kids could be in there playing, there was sharp things and just, it was unsafe. So I addressed it. His daughter, I think his name's actually McLeod or something, but his daughter had contacted me and had asked for, let me back up, I'm sorry. She had said that she was gonna try and pick up the property, so on and so forth. She was having a hard time finding contractors therefore, but she was addressing it. So fast forward, she had called somewhere in the mix, maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and she'd asked for an extension. They had made progress, but they hadn't done it all due to the 90-day deadline that we'd given them. So I granted her, another 30 days, but I went and checked at it today. It's about half going. I just wanted to share some pictures and follow up on it. I did send out another letter expressing that it's not never ending. You can't just keep getting extensions. We gotta have a deadline at some point. So I gave her 30 more days. So at 10/20/22, if it's not all removed by then, I would say we proceed and with the fines and the penalties that they're required. Do that only because of the time frame. I understand she's doing her best and she's done a great deal of work, but I just didn't want it to turn into a 2-year project when it should have been cleaned up years ago. We have a few properties in town like that, so I don't want her to think that we're, zeroing in on, picking on that family. There's other ones, especially up the big street that we're trying to address and make our way through. So she's not alone. There's other properties that we're trying to get cleaned up and moving forward and just to represent the town a little bit better. But the dangerous buildings are the scary ones, because you never know where and when kids are playing and what they're doing. So that was the big one for 66 Big Street.
yeah, some kid went in there and played and got stuck there, he went in there at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and nobody else around.
Right.
Nobody know till after supper time.
Yeah.
When his parents were looking for him. And then they call out, well, he's lost, well.
Yeah.
If he lost, he may be stuck.
Well, I stepped up in there just to get some pictures and I'll be honest with you, it was sketchy. It was the floor is extremely rotten. It's, if you didn't know where you were stepping and on the purlins of the metal, you'd easily go through the floor. So, I don't know if caution tape's a good idea, but that might just attract, younger kids. And, oh, geez, what's that? I don't belong there. Let me get in there. So I don't know if we ought to just leave it as is until it's cleaned up, but it's one of several issues in town we're trying to address.
Okay. Perfect, thank you. That it?
Why don't you?
What did you want to say? Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Oh,
Go ahead,
I was-
keep going.
Yeah, I was gonna go for you.
Welcome.
I think we were bound and I'll need to set the cord straight. The first and the third week of every month, we're gonna do department heads, just so that I can make sure I'm here. And I think that was part of what Dickie and I was chuckling about, because he gave up all his stuff last week. And he said, if I had to come today, I get an empty card, so.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
We did get, I did get call to the hive this weekend at 11 o'clock at night.
Mhm.
They didn't do it like they're supposed to. They told out the fire department to do it. And I was in private. We had a big convention in private. So I had to come down from there at 11 o'clock at night. We got to the fire station and they canceled it. Because the sheriff went right up in there and shut it down before I could get there. But they could hear it all the way down here to Main Street. And the guy that's 3 miles away texted me at 11:15, said that it was loud.
Yeah.
So,
But isn't the
That's
protocol
the
for
first one.
sheriff then you?
but the sheriff is supposed to get called and the sheriff's supposed to notify me when I come to go. So they didn't do that. The sheriff went. And had the fire department tone for it, for the noise issue. Well, I've got the machine in my truck, so I've got the fire department.
Yeah.
You know, I did get 3 members responding to it, but they didn't go up there. One of them did, Whit, come down and met with Tim Montango, who was sitting outside. But Dick Murray went right up into the, before I made the comment down here, and he said he was up there. And when that time I got to the fire station, he said, I've shut him down. Well, that's not gonna help us.
So they called the fire department to hose them all down, to quiet them down? Is that what they called it?
I don't understand the protocol on that.
Well, the way it's supposed to work is when it's loud, they do call the sheriff.
Right.
Well, then the sheriff's supposed to notify me so I can meet them there. So I meet them out the end of the road.
Is that if he wants to write a ticket to have the
You have
noise
it documented. You
documentation?
gotta have it documented. So my machine will read into my computer, it's in the car, so I record it and I have it on file.
He could do that with his phone.
Yes, he can.
What?
Was this the
It's town resource.
wedding venue place?
Yes.
It was. I'm just curious.
That's been the first one in quite a while.
It
Oh,
is.
second. Yeah, I haven't heard anything at all. In fact, I go up there once in a while, I school up there at night, and I know there's been a holiday or anything like that. You go up there.
I'd say 6 months or something since the last time.
Yeah, so that's
I
not
think that's the
bad.
end of the year, probably lined up.
Yeah.
Was it the day of the accident we had?
That's where they were headed.
They were headed for the wet, and that's it. They were quiet, so I didn't hear anything.
Yeah, I saw the fire was down at Spot last week. Was that anything serious?
No, they backed into the gas pump.
Oh, okay. No, just curious.
They broke off the tubes inside, but they got a shut off. And all of those gas was running out of the top of the pump down. They didn't know what was happening.
Is that Friday morning?
It's Friday afternoon.
Friday afternoon?
Yeah.
I think I was there when the guy backed in and he took off.
They took off.
Yeah, I think I was there. Yeah, I don't know what time of day it was. I was trying to get out of town.
Looking for excitement.
I left here and I was,
Oh,
yeah,
was
so
it?
whatever time that was, I don't know.
My truck was even out of town because HME took the truck this weekend for the show. They thanked the town very much, but they had a truck with Camden that's supposed to be down to the show, and they had electrical glitch with it, trying to make it, the computer talk to the pump. So we didn't have one, so I offered hours and turned up on it.
Mhm.
It was up there, you got a good response, 8 minutes, private round.
Yeah. You got anything?
I mean,
Make a motion.
are we off private?
Yeah.
No.
No.
open.
I didn't know.
Right, all in favor?
I know you gave.
Okay. Yeah, we're done.
You said second time.
No.
That was about expected.
Yes. Well, I think she deserves.